Hi and welcome to another video tutorial. I'm Sonja from The Art of Stamping and today I'm guest designing for Create a Smile Stamps. I'm so happy to have been given the opportunity to guest design for this company that I'm going to celebrate this with another video tutorial. Today I want to show you how I created and watercolored the scene on this card here. As Create a Smile Stamps is an international company, I've decided to voice over the whole video in English. I didn't have the time to edit German subtitles, but I hope most of it is self-explanatory anyway. For my card I've used two stamp sets by Create a Smile. The first one being a German sentiment set called Hey Quatschkopf. The second one is one of their newer flower sets from the June release called Magic Flowers. I've also got a piece of pre-cut watercolor paper. I'm using Canson XL watercolor cut out with a stitched frame die by Mama Elephant, and the piece of light gray cardstock from which I initially wanted to create my card base before I switched to a black base later on. But now let's start creating the scene using heat embossing. First I'm using my powder tool on the watercolor paper to remove any static and make sure that my embossing powder only sticks to the stamped images later on. Then I'm laying out my scene with some masks I've pre-cut from removable label paper. By the way, thanks to Christine who featured this tip in one of her recent videos. This really is such an amazing stuff and much cheaper than traditional masking paper. I'm so happy to have found it. I wanted the smaller flower to sit on top of the larger one, so I took my mask as a guide where to stamp the image before I stamped it down properly. After the stamping was done with Versamark ink, I applied my embossing powder. This is simple white powder by Judy Kins I'm using here. And when that was ready, I heat set the powder with my heat tool. I continued creating my scene in that way until I was satisfied with the outcome. Always using my masks as a guide for stamping. And later on also masking off all areas where the stamps overlap, as you can see here. After I had then finished my scene, I started coloring it with Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolors. I love those colors because they are really easy to blend and create much smoother and softer color washes than some traditional watercolors. At least I have made this experience. I don't know anything about their color or light fastness. They are definitely more muted than some of the more expensive Schminke colors in my stash, but for crafting and card making reasons they are absolutely worth their money. Now when coloring, no matter if I use Copics or colored pencils or for that matter watercolors of any kind, I tend to work in layers and build up the shadows and highlights of my images in various steps. Here I start out by applying a really light and watery color wash on all images at first. Only after this has dried I go in to apply my next layer. If I didn't wait for my color to dry thoroughly, the different layers would mix up and I couldn't obtain much depth and detail in the shadow areas. You will see how exactly I layer my colors in a few seconds. I will now play some music and speed up the coloring process so that you can follow my technique from start to finish without getting too bored by all the detail work. I hope you have fun watching and I come back in later to show you how I've finished off my card. Enjoy! So now that I've finished coloring, I'm starting to assemble my card. Here I'm layering the image onto the grey card base that I had prepared in advance, but I got the impression that it looked a little too pale against the light background, so I switched to a black card base that make the colors pop much more. Before I glued everything together, I stamped and embossed my greeting, reading "How Time Flies," using VersaFine Onyx Black ink and transparent embossing powder by Judy Kins. I then embellished my panel with some light blue sequins from my stash. And afterwards I adhered my card using an ordinary tape runner to glue the watercolor paper to the vellum background and a bit of dimensional foam to mount the panel onto the card base. And that's it for my card today. Thank you for watching. Should you have any questions or remarks, just comment on my blog or in the YouTube section below. I'll try to answer them as good as I can. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Have a nice day. Bye.